Talk. I'm Paul Durienzo, and we have returning a great guest. Glad to have him back, Harry Vox. Wow, it's been a while since we've been back. We've been talking about these issues having to do with the news and with your take on the news, which is fascinating. I think it's worth coming back again and again to talk about this stuff. We don't always agree, but we always have fun talking about it, which is great. That's what it's really about. So what you can see from the background, in between us, the symbol, there's three symbols, right? There's the symbol behind me, which is death. I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom around. You get the idea, right? It's death. And then behind Harry Vox is radiation. But the one in between us is less known. That's biohazard. When you see those around, that means you can catch a bug that is the worst bug ever made, and I mean made, created, usually over in Plum Island, Long Island, maybe down in Fort Meade, in Maryland. I was just watching the series Wormwood about the LSD experiments at Fort Meade. Usually when you talk about bio, you're also talking about chemical warfare. They actually, I've just been reading this, Harry, just recently, that usually when they talk about bio, they also talk about chemical warfare. It's usually talked about in the same voice or in the same phrase or in the same use of the words. They're related, so closely related to each other, bio and chemical warfare. And I didn't know that, right? So experimenting with LSD and dosing people and making them jump out of windows in the downtown Manhattan or giving them anthrax.
Which is a little different from killing them, but yeah.
Yeah, it's right.
They were both trying to weaponize this.
Yeah, that was all about weaponizing it. They say, actually, just not to spend too much time on it, but, when the guy jumped out of the building, they didn't really push him out. Everybody assumes, these CIA guys wanted to kill him. They didn't have to give him a push. They left the window open.
Well,
they put him on the 20th floor and left the window open.
The claim that people jump out of windows when they do that, I've done a lot of LSD.
Right.
And I've never had any...
Right, a desire to jump out a window. Me neither. I have to admit. I don't know where that comes from, actually. But I guess the guy had other problems because he was involved, and this is the biowarfare part of it. Allegedly, he was involved in Olson, right? His name is Frank Olson, right? He was involved in making germ warfare, biological warfare agents to use in Korea. And when he took LSD, LSD tends to make people more liberal. Like, I think they did a test that makes people about 10 to 20% more liberal in their politics.
Because once you do LSD, you don't have any need for these.
Right. And he became so guilty over it that he kept saying to the other CIA guys, we got to tell everybody that they were using germ warfare in Korea. That's a terrible thing, right? And that's why they wanted to get rid of him.
All right. Now let's jump into this one.
Well, it's germ warfare, right?
Last time I was here, we spoke about the Rockefeller plan.
Right.
Rockefeller plan was, and this was 5 years ago. It was 2014, right? And this Rockefeller plan, and the name of the plan, in case anyone wants to look it up, it's called from the Rockefeller Foundation, called the Scenarios for the Future of Technology and International Development. Nice sounding name, but it spoke about how we can instill martial law by just infecting the people with a pandemic, and then we can protect them. It was a protection racket, basically, and that's what's going on today. And the one thing we have to discuss here is that this, if you try to get a handle on the U.S. bioweapons research, because, any kind of development of bioweapons is against the international
law.
Prohibited. Yeah, it's prohibited.
Which the U.S. has signed on to.
Yeah. So what they do is they say, okay, we're not developing bioweapons. What we're doing is we're creating them so that we can research them. Okay, and of course the difference...
Well, research reactors, you have a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, you know what, though, but research, if you look at some of the research that they're doing, here's one, because, when I see they do this attack, well, first of all, let me complete the first thought. There's a vast network, and when you try to actually get a handle on it, try to get to see how much money is spent on it, you find out it's all throughout universities throughout America, it's private corporations, it's hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's everywhere. Every branch of the military has it. Every DARPA is in control. They have
What's
all
DARPA?
these
Tell people.
Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and then they have all these acronyms called like the Cooperative Bioengagement Program and bioengagement. So it's
What's
like
bioengagement?
well, bioengagement, bioterra. It's as if you were to do a double curb stomp somebody's face into the cement. You'd say, "I'm going to engage your face with my feet." You know what I mean? It's another nice way of saying.
Why is the United States so evil?
Because
Haven't you benefited? We've all benefited in this
I'm
wonderful
not
country.
saying you can't say the United States is evil. A small cadre of people within positions of power, and I'm saying that not all these people that are in this vast network of bio research would be interested in doing bioterror on every. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's not. It's done through compartmentalization. So, for example, you go to Madison, Wisconsin, and they're developing a biological agent that is extremely human transmissible. It's airborne transmissible, and it's highly pathogenic to humans.
That's where I went to college, by the way.
Okay.
I have my master's
Why-
degree from University of Wisconsin.
why the
But I have
fuck-
the sniffles.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Why the hell would you want to develop something like that? And they say, well, it's the study.
They had the primate lab there. Famous for their primate
That's
lab.
what they're
Most
doing.
famous primate lab.
Okay. So then I say, okay, so then this kind of stuff is happening all throughout the United States. And the other thing you have to know is that they have a series of countries that are the partners in this cooperation. And the biggest one is, when you look at the nations that are involved, there's a map of all our bioweapons labs there. Throughout there, I'll just read it off to you. I'll make it real simple for you. Some of the biggest ones, one of the biggest ones is in Georgia, not to be confused with the United States. Georgia, we're talking about
Georgia,
Eurasia, on the border of
Yeah,
Russia.
Dana was just there.
Georgia is known as being one of the most corrupt nations on the planet, right?
More than Ukraine?
More than Ukraine, Georgia. Georgia, if you want to go to medical school, you just pay them $30,000, and you can pay a couple more for good grades. And that's how you get your. Yeah, okay. So, and if you want to get anything done, you want to get it's all bucksheesh. You got to pay. But the thing about it is that if you look at the list, it's all the most corrupt nations on the earth where have these bioweapons labs. So you've got like Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone, they burn tires around people's heads. You have Liberia. To Liberia, they have these are the worst nations. So why do we do this kind of stuff in these other nations? Why?
What are we doing exactly in them?
We're doing bio research. Okay, but
And who's doing this bio research? Who's in charge of it in the U.S.?
The people who are in charge of it, the name of the program is the Cooperative Biological Engagement Program of the Defense Threat Reduction. Again, it's not
So it's
reduction.
Department of Defense. This is coming out of the
Yeah,
Department
it's
of
the DARPA though is the
Yeah.
guy who's the main. One
So
who's-
DARPA is the authority.
Yeah, but you know what? It's U.S. Air Force has a program. U.S. Army.
They
Fort
always
Detrick.
do. They always do.
Yeah, Fort Detrick, Maryland is
Right.
where they developed AIDS. You know,
Right,
it's-
right.
yeah,
But some would say the deep state is the CIA. There's always been a fight between the military intelligence and the civilian intelligence agency.
well, you can't be. You know what it is? There's nothing that's set in stone. All this stuff is fluid, depending on what year, what time, what political.
The people involved,
inclinations.
yeah.
Sure. I mean, who would have thought that the Democrats would be bowing at the feet of the CIA? I mean, okay, so, or that the liberals would
Originally,
entrust-
they were people coming in. The CIA or the OSS were people coming from the Ivy League schools, which were the creme of the
Christians,
crop.
yeah,
The
Christians.
really hardcore bourgeois class.
Yeah.
But
And now
those are
it's-
the liberals today.
And now it's the left liberals who worship at the feet of the, neoliberals. But it's not even the neoliberals because, see, you can't even use these terms anymore because, see, the word liberal doesn't mean anything. I'm a liberal.
Right.
Yeah.
It
doesn't mean
I like
anything.
to say progressive.
That's a better word.
It's a better word because it's more like we can make it the meaning whatever we
Because
want.
the term neoliberal, if you ask
Yeah.
100 people in the street, what does the word neoliberal mean? They don't know what it means.
I don't know it. It's never been clearly explained.
Neoliberal is a
Capitalism.
fascist scumbag who judges you based on how much money you have, how much.
Yeah,
earning
that's what I always thought it was.
Yeah, a piece of shit. That's
what
a neoliberal.
That's what I
But-
always thought.
So, and then I say to myself, okay, well then, if there is this compartmentalization, how does the germ get out of the lab and into the field, right?
Like Lyme disease.
Like Lyme disease or Ebola in Liberia. Okay.
Okay.
So how
Worse.
does it do that?
Way
Okay,
worse.
so-
Lyme disease is pretty bad.
Lyme disease is really bad. Well, you want to know Lyme disease? Here we go.
That came out of Plum Island, they say, according to the book I read.
Oh, we have a program here where they were weaponizing ticks.
Yes.
Ticks as bioweapons. U.S. House of Representatives. This is in 2019, July 19th. The U.S. House of Representatives has ordered the Pentagon to investigate whether the Department of Defense experimented with weaponizing ticks and insects in the past. So, but listen to what they're doing. They're asking the Pentagon to investigate the Department of Defense. That's like asking the bank robber to investigate the rapist. I mean, it's the most insane idea in the world. You need to have a civilian group investigate these people, not fucking...
Having Tarantino investigate Weinstein. Right?
Yeah, of course. Just having the
Considering he made so much money off of Weinstein and was better, although I love his movies and all that, but he benefited from Weinstein's personality.
And so we have these labs. They're all over the world. They're all over the United States academia. And because if you're a scholar and you're a biological researcher, money is the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have the money, you're finished. Okay, so you're going to work for them. Now, these are dual-use programs, and there's many scientists that are looking at these.
Dual use.
Dual use means these are what scientists have published in the Journal of Science, saying we are really concerned about these U.S. bioprotection programs that can easily be used as bioterror. Okay.
In other words, something that's sold as pure research has a dual use. It might be useful in agriculture.
That's right, agricultural
but it has
research.
A weaponry use.
Here's
okay.
An article that is in Science magazine. It's not a conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's called
I don't think it is.
Agricultural.
We wouldn't be here if I thought it was that simple.
Okay. Title is, and you can look it up, Agricultural Research or a New Bioweapon System. And these insects, what they're doing is they're infecting like aphids and grasshoppers and mosquitoes with all these biological weaponized biocontaminants, and they're releasing them into the air. What the fuck purpose would that be except for
But isn't there a problem? Because they used to say HIV was created to infect the black community or drug addicts and stuff like that. Maybe so, but it got out of the area. Plenty of wealthy people's children got it too.
Nobody's saying that these scumbags have a well-honed plan. They are shooting around in the dark, hoping for money. And you know what? No matter what happens, they still cash in. So they don't really care. Okay.
So who are they again? Let's get back to that.
Well, that's what everybody has to come to the research to hone in on who is the ones who profit most from this. Okay, so
who benefits? What's it? Cui bono, right?
Yeah,
what the Latins.
So first of all,
what the Latins say.
First of all, you have to understand too. There was a controversial futures market, a terror futures market, which bet on the Pentagon.
A terror futures market?
Yeah. It's like put calls,
put and call. I know what a put and call is.
For viewers who don't
know, you make money on the loss, right?
Yeah. So if a put call is, if you predict that like a plane is going to crash into the Twin Towers, for example, and that stock will lose money, you bet that it's going to lose money, and you're betting that you're going to win if it loses, and you're going to take a win.
Right.
And people bet against you and say, well, it's not going to crash, and so they lose, they pay you, and that's called a put call in stock trading.
Bank of America made out on when the bubble burst in '29.
Well,
Bank of America had all the puts on, and they made a fortune.
United Airlines and American Airlines, the planes that slammed into the towers in World Trade Center, all had the most put activity on them ever, and it was traced back to the CIA's bank, AB Buzz.
So when their stock went down because their planes got bad reputation,
the CIA bank made money.
What's happening with Boeing right now? Do we know?
The person who placed that bet was called A.B. Buzz Kronegard from the CIA. He was the number 2 man at the CIA. They say he was the number 3, but he was the financial guy at the CIA. So he would be the number 2 man at the CIA during the Twin Tower attacks. Okay, he worked for the bank called A.B. Brown and Sons. Alex Brown and Sons, one of the oldest banks, investment houses.
Sure.
They cashed in. They're the ones who made the put call. And then that story was huge. And then when they traced it, 1, 2, 3 days after 9/11, they said, whoa, all this activity, all these put calls on United Airlines and American, we got to find out. Then when it went back to the CIA, that story went right into the memory hole, like everything. Okay, so Google, you got to understand, Google is a scrubbing operation right now. So if it's political and it goes against the ruling class, you're not going to find it on Google. Period. It's gone. So, for example, in Russia right now, they're all saying that the United States is behind this bioweapons. Good luck finding one hit on Google. You cannot find it. But if you go to alternative search engines, you can find evidence that they're all talking about it in China and Russia, that this is a U.S. bioweapons. Good luck finding it on
You mean
Google.
coronavirus?
Coronavirus. So Google, and this is not
So, okay,
accidental.
what is coronavirus? Let's move to China. What's happening to China?
This is a bioterror weapon against China. And they say, oh, and what happens is, what they do is, and this is always how they do it, they release the virus in a city that has a weapon, a biological lab, so that when U.S. researchers find the virus, they say, and they discover that there's a lab there, they say, oh, well, see, there's a bioweapons lab in Wuhan, so it must have been Chinese. No. If you are waging biological warfare on China, you're not going to dump it in the woods somewhere. You're going to release that toxin in a city that has a bioweapon. So idiotic researchers in the United
Wuhan
States.
has a...
They have a biological research facility that's a grade 4 facility.
what does that mean?
They have various grades of security.
Is
that
the
are,
higher the grade, the more secure?
Yes, of course, and the more that you can do it. They only have one in Wuhan. We have so many of them that scientists are saying the United States has too many of these bioweapons labs, and we don't
So you're
need
saying
them.
this isn't like a Chinese bioweapon that got out, just like
That's
they say...
what the cover story is, that it's a U.S. bioweapons lab, and then to make...
Wait. The cover story is that it's a U.S.
No, that it's a Chinese bioweapon. I'm sorry,
That
it was
released
Chinese
it,
bioweapon.
yeah.
But what it is the United States is trying to sound like the reasonable voice by saying, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. First of all, they don't even want people to think that this thing was planted. They want it to think that it's a naturally occurring thing.
Absolutely.
But not really, because then why would they plant it near the Wuhan facility? So what this is the same kind of MO that the CIA uses. What the CIA does, and this is proven in Vault 7 release, that's Edward Snowden papers, when the CIA releases a computer virus into the world, they hide Russian code and Russian characters into the computer virus, but they don't really hide it that well. They kind of sort of hide it, and then what happens is...
that's your 400-pound guy on a bed, right?
What happens is the researcher discovers that, and says, oh, see, there's Russian letters here, and they tried to hide it. So this must
can
be
I
a
ask you,
Russian-
this is a little off the subject, but since I got you here, we're on the subject. Is the server in Ukraine, and is that important?
Is the server...
Trump is always saying, he's asking the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, is the server... At first he said, he's saying that the actual physical
server of what?
server, the Hillary Clinton server, the mail is actually in Ukraine, that Ukraine was helping Hillary Clinton.
Well, we know. No, I honestly
Do you think that Trump
don't
is
think,
off his rocker on that?
No, I don't. Well, I actually that is such a low caliber story to me that I don't. Like this whole.
You think
email
Trump
thing
has gone
just-
down the tubes?
I'm
It's
no
just-
longer. Look, everybody hates Trump for the wrong reasons. They hated him for the wrong reasons, right? I now hate him for the right reasons, so not for the wrong. Everybody hated him. You got to understand that when Trump came into office, he said, "Oh, I'm going to gut the ruling class and I'm going to end the wars." The liberal class should have just got on their knees and worshipped him for that. Instead, the Zionist media convinced them, conned the liberal class.
What's the Zionist media? We got to explain that.
The American media is the Zionist media. Okay?
What do you mean by Zionist media? Explain that.
It's
Because I'll get in trouble if we don't explain that clearly to people.
No, there's no question about it. They support every single war for in the Middle
APAC,
East.
you're talking about. APAC,
I'm talking
American
about.
Israel
I'm
Public.
talking about. It's dominated by this Zionist thread that runs through every facet of power in Washington and in the mainstream media. They say, "Oh, that's anti-Semitic." That's reality. Okay, that is the fact. Okay, there's no question about it. Name one personality in the mainstream media who has ever gone against war. Name one.
I'll let you answer that question.
None. Zero. They're all pro-war. And all wars support, all wars now are in the Middle East are at the behest of Israel, not for the United States. Ask yourself, what has war in the fucking Middle East ever done for your family? How has that improved your standard of life? It's cost $7 billion for these wars for Israel, and guess what? We could have had for that $7 billion free education, free healthcare, free housing for everyone for $7 trillion.
What about the Palestinians?
Did I say billion? I meant trillion.
What about the poor Palestinians? I like to focus on that more.
That's right.
You know, because the Palestinians is pathetic. What happens to these poor people?
It's disgusting.
And then
it's
they
an
get called,
apartheid nation.
like these poor, occupied, crushed people are talked about as if they were some threat to the world or something. And
Of course, they're innocent people. They're fighting for their survival.
That's what motivates me. You know, because I come from a family that's extensively Jewish. It's part Jewish, part Catholic, right? Okay. Very extensive. And I have been to Israel, and I have children with an Israeli woman, right? So I'm going to lay that all out. But at the same time, I cry every night for the Palestinian people and how they're being treated. It is a shame. It is a shame. And Israel has turned into the worst thing that ever could have happened to the Jewish people, in my opinion, for that reason alone.
Israel doesn't represent Israel to claim.
That's my point.
To claim that Israel or Zionism is the custodian of the history of the Jewish people is a farce. It's a money laundering operation, Israel and Zionism. It's a complete scam on humanity, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to this country and the world right now. Because
I was saying it's the worst thing that happened to the Jewish people.
Well, of course it is. Okay, so now I try to ask myself, how in the world do they get from the lab, where there are people that are developing these in academia, to the field where they disperse it? And I said there must be some kind of operatives who either, and on your show 5 years ago, I said they would sprinkle it or maybe fly a little drone or something. Okay, so look what we have here. United States patent for a drone, right? One of these little toy drones. But you know what this toy drones does? It's a toxic mosquito aerial release drone. Okay, can you imagine? And
where did you get that?
This is a U.S. patent number 8967029B1. And this is for the United States military. A drone, a little toy drone that releases toxins and mosquitoes. And I'll walk it up to you. Look at this.
Look out, watch out, you're unconnected to the wire.
Okay. Here's the, oops, there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
There you go, and you can see the little mosquito.
Pull it back. You need light.
Okay, you can see the little mosquitoes in the container.
It's better to hold it back.
So basically, and this is by the same guy. This is 2015, right? So you can just fly it over with the coronavirus or the Ebola, whatever, and then when you've done dispersing your village, go right into the nearest lake. You're done. Yeah. Okay, this same scumbag who developed a bullet. A bullet that induces stroke. Because, long history of war, it's easier to just kill people, but it's better to turn them into zombies so that the other side has to use their medical resources and everything to maintain.
Vietnam was famous for that. That's why they had anti-personnel weapons. They're not meant to kill, but they wouldn't.
Exactly right.
They're not supposed to kill you.
So the United States Patent Office and the U.S. military, they issue patents for this kind of garbage, right? Basically, I have a recommendation. They shouldn't issue patents. They should arrest him and throw this piece of shit in prison. Basically, go to jail.
What's in it? What's a bullet that induces strokes?
Induces strokes or other medical things. And then this
What's it made out of?
It's a regular bullet that's got contagion in it, and that is patent number 8997653.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's like a needle in a way, like it injects you.
So it's got this one does a mosquito. It's got a mosquito breeding bin in it, which has a door that opens up and releases. You can't even make this up.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah. And the idea is, why the fuck would you need a patent for this kind of stuff? It's not like there's going to be a lot of. Usually, you get a patent to make sure that competition doesn't come in and bring a product to market. Who's going to market this? And you're only going to use this in secret, so nobody's going to, Thank you, United States government, for being the scummiest shit on the planet. Okay, now.
Wow, that's better than Pelosi.
Well, because Pelosi is a duplicitous piece of shit.
Okay. Go on.
She's the worst. Okay.
We have 3 minutes.
Then we only have a few minutes?
4 minutes.
Okay, so basically what we need to do is we need to have a new program here, a new movement. And the movement is called Not 1 Cent. What does the not 1 cent movement mean? Not 1 cent movement is like the Me Too movement. You know, in the Me Too movement, if you have ever pinched someone in the ass 20 years ago, and he pinched me in the ass 20 years ago, you lose everything. Okay, not 1 cent. You take 1 cent from Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, the state of Israel. You vote one time for war that turned out to be wrong. Oh, looks here, like 20 years ago, you took money from Raytheon. You're not qualified to lead. You're not qualified to take public office, you piece of shit. Oh, looks like you took some money from Lockheed Martin and you voted for that war that didn't turn out well. Sorry, bye-bye. And if we had a zero tolerance policy, a not 1 cent policy, you would clean out this filth. Washington is soiled with the worst scummy filth on the planet, right? We have to clean them out. We need a new movement, not 1 cent. And guess what? Because when you take money from Israel, when you take money from Lockheed Martin or Boeing, Northrop Grumman or Raytheon, you work for them. That's how it works. You work for them. Whoever gives you money, and they'll say, oh, no, that's not how it works.
So what do you think of Bernie Sanders?
He took the most money from the weapons industry than anyone in 2016. I'll vote for him this year only because Trump is just feeding Israel too much. He was resisting the war, but then he kills this Soleimani guy, and he's always hand in hand with Netanyahu. I feel like puking, so I'm done with Trump. I don't like him anymore. So I'll go with Sanders again. Okay, but will Sanders have the strength to withstand the military-industrial complex? I don't know.
To me, it's like Abraham Lincoln. He's like Abraham Lincoln in a weird way. I'm not saying he's necessarily the same stature, but the same situation where there's forces larger than Bernie Sanders that are propelling him to a possible victory, which would then bring America into the same situation it was in 1861, where the other side will say no way, and both sides will be.
Yeah, I think Trump's going to win. If you want my opinion, I'm not happy about it. I don't see anybody in the field. I think Sanders, in a way, by recommending Hillary Clinton, is kind of a fraud because she was the worst warmonger in history. But we really
she's thinking of running again.
I know. I don't think so. Trump will mop the floor.
How about Bloomberg? What do you think of Bloomberg?
Forget him. And Buttigieg is the CIA guy. Buttigieg, whatever it is, he's the CIA guy. And I said 20 years ago, I said they're going to go for. They can't sell the same militaristic program with the white face anymore. So they have to do it first with the black, then with the woman, then with gay. So we had Barack Obama. He sold us the same militaristic agenda. Then they tried with Hillary Clinton. That didn't work. So we got Trump. You screwed up. Now they're going with the gay. And next it's going to be Jew or gay. But because they have to use archetypes that are.
How about Italian?
No.
They'll never go with an Italian American?
No, it's gonna be gay next. They're gonna go with because they need to appeal to the liberal class, and liberals, they're just looking for key words. They just want like gender. You can tell a liberal, it's like if you just say the word gender, I support gender.
Privileged voices over people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they're looking for key words.
We have 15 seconds left.
Not 1 cent. Get the word around, start leafleting, start talking about the concept, not 1 penny. You take 1 penny from the military-industrial complex, you're a piece of shit, and you are not qualified to lead a dish towel.
Harry Fox, thank you. Great having you on. See you next week.